Have you ever wondered what determines a person's path to the heights of success, wealth, and influence while others remain in the shadows? There is a powerful principle, like an invisible hand guiding our reality, the mirror principle. This is not just an abstract concept taken from dusty volumes on self-development, but an effective method that can dramatically turn life around. The mirror here acts as a reflection of our inner essence, showing not only who we are, but also shaping external circumstances in accordance with our inner world. Imagine reality as a huge mirror whose job is to reflect our thoughts, beliefs, and perceptions. Once we master the art of controlling this reflection, the gates to any achievement will open before us. However, there is one important point. Many people make serious mistakes when trying to utilize this principle. Instead of focusing on transforming their inner world, they spend their efforts on influencing the outer reflection. This is comparable to trying to fix your hair by looking in the mirror but not touching your hair. No change will happen until you start working on yourself. Dear viewers, before we get to the main topic of this video, I would like to invite you to my author's Telegram channel. There, I share exclusive knowledge about how each of us can become the architect of our destiny by utilizing the incredible potential of our mind. Recently, I published a material about the so-called programming code of life. This is not just a set of numbers, but a powerful psychological tool that allows you to rewrite your internal code and, as a result, transform your life. The link to this unique channel is in the description to the video. I will be glad to see your interest and invite you to follow the link to receive daily fresh ideas and inspiration from me in text format that will help you in your quest for change. With sincere respect. Often in our pursuit of change in the world around us, we forget the need for change within ourselves. It is like a person who is dissatisfied with his reflection in the mirror, trying to change only facial expressions or gestures, not realizing that true change begins with deep introspection. True transformation happens when we begin to work on our beliefs and feelings, which is the key to positive change in life. Countless people over the years strive for the heights of success, financial prosperity, and influence, yet their efforts are often in vain. The reason is that they focus solely on changing external factors, not realizing that it is their inner world that determines how they see the reality around them. What happens when a person begins to work on himself? First of all, he gains unshakable confidence in his own abilities. Gradually comes the understanding that thoughts and feelings do not just form an individual perception of reality, but also actively influence the interaction with the world around them. If an individual constantly experiences fear of failure or believes that success is not his destiny, the world will reflect these fears, creating situations that reinforce negative attitudes. He may encounter people who only reinforce his doubts and fears, or circumstances where he feels insecure and constrained. However, once the process of transformation of the inner self begins, thoughts, emotions, and beliefs change, external reality is also transformed. Internal attitudes become a kind of starting point for everything that happens in a person's life, determining the trajectory of his or her destiny. Acquiring faith in one's own strength, the ability to see prospects in any circumstances, not obstacles, radically transforms the perception of the world. Like a mirror reflecting the inner state, a new view of reality will become a reality. We must not lose sight of the fact that this principle also applies in interpersonal relationships. Self-perception has a direct impact on how others perceive a person. If an individual is susceptible to doubt, others will treat him or her with distrust. On the contrary, the confidence that comes from within generates respect and trust from others. Such a person becomes a magnet for opportunities, attracts the right people, success, and prosperity, because his inner state harmonizes with external changes. It is important to realize that working on yourself is not an instant miracle. It is a long process that requires time, patience, and constant effort. You should start small by transforming your thoughts, overcoming negative beliefs, and developing the skill of tracking your own emotions. Each step towards inner growth and harmony will change reality, and external changes will begin to happen almost by themselves. Perhaps each of us has at least once wondered where to begin the path to self-improvement, how to understand which facets of your personality require changes. The answer lies in the depths of self-knowledge. Start by analyzing your own feelings and emotions. What experiences do you have in relation to yourself, to the world around you, to life in general? How do you evaluate your personality, your abilities? How strong is your confidence in your own abilities? Only by taking an honest look at your vulnerabilities can you identify the areas that need to be transformed. Sometimes, in order to experience a change for the better, it is enough to simply believe in your potential, in your limitless possibilities. One of the effective tools on the way to self-improvement is visualization. Imagine a picture of an ideal life that you dream of, how you see your life, what peaks you aspire to conquer, what you want to see your relationships with loved ones. It is important not just to mechanically scroll these images in your head, but to feel them as if all this has already become a reality. The brighter and more detailed you present your goals, the faster they will begin to materialize in your life. Of course, this does not mean that you should neglect real actions and efforts to achieve your goals. The mirror principle does not exclude practical steps, but it helps you to tune into the right wave, harmonize your energy and direct your intentions in the right direction, creating a solid foundation for future victories. This principle helps a person align their actions with their true desires and underlying attitudes. In other words, if someone aspires to prosperity, influence, and material well-being, he should start with introspection. He should look at himself as if from the outside and ask himself, what internal changes need to be made in order to transform the surrounding reality? It is important to remember that the reflection in the mirror is always subjective and shows only what we are ready to see. If we learn to interpret this phenomenon correctly, then any previously seemingly unattainable goals can become quite real. Realizing the power of the mirror principle, a person begins to realize that all events in his life are not an accident. All his relationships with others, professional activities, ups and downs are a direct consequence of his self-perception and outlook. The external world is like a mirror, which only reflects the inner state of a person, even if he himself does not realize it. Then why do many people, knowing about this principle, keep stepping on the same rake? The reason is that people often act according to ingrained stereotypes of thinking and behavior. Human beings tend to internalize certain behavioral patterns and beliefs that originate in early childhood or are formed throughout life. These attitudes are so deeply rooted in the mind that the individual is often unaware of how they affect his or her choices and actions. Often, these limitations are just a reflection of the subjective perception of one's own capabilities. For example, if from a young age a person was indoctrinated that money is something immoral or that wealthy people a priori are dishonest, then even in the active pursuit of financial well-being, his subconscious attitudes will prevent the achievement of the goal. This may manifest itself in the constant postponement of important financial decisions, fear of taking justified risks, or even in the unconscious rejection of profitable opportunities. To overcome these internal barriers, you need to work with your subconscious mind, replacing outdated attitudes with new, more positive and constructive ones. This process takes time and effort, but once a person begins to change his inner world, external circumstances will begin to change in accordance with his inner transformations. He will begin to make more confident decisions, strive for success, and move forward boldly. Soon, everyone will be able to notice how his existence begins to sparkle with new perspectives and metamorphoses. Another key point when using the mirror principle is to closely observe your own emotional states. Emotions act as a kind of barometer, clearly showing how an individual interprets the world around him. When a person feels elation, unwavering confidence, or deep appreciation, he emits vibrations into space that attract favorable events and interesting people to him. In contrast, when overwhelmed by stress, anxiety, or anger, he generates negative vibrations that can materialize in his life in the form of losses, failures, and bitter disappointments. To improve the quality of life, one must master the art of managing one's emotions and skillfully channel them in a constructive way. This does not imply suppression of feelings, but rather the opposite, realizing them, understanding the root cause of each emotion, and then skillfully directing them in a constructive direction. For example, if an individual is gripped by fear of an important life choice, instead of running away from that fear, he or she can take it as a signal for personal growth and change, and then use that experience to achieve the goals set. Cultivating a sense of gratitude is no less important on the path to inner transformation. Gratitude is the key that can unlock the door to positive changes in our reality. When a person is truly grateful for what is already present in his life, the world around him begins to reflect more reasons for joy and satisfaction. Gratitude, like a powerful magnet, attracts a stream of favorable events, filling a person's life with what he or she truly appreciates. It allows you to consider all the bright moments, even if at first glance they seem to be few. Moreover, gratitude creates positive vibrations, which, in turn, attract even more reasons to express this feeling. Often, in the pursuit of success, many people focus on finding new ways to impact the world around them, overlooking the fact that the most important work happens within themselves. It is important to remember that no external achievements can bring true happiness if a person does not learn to feel it within themselves. The mirror principle clearly demonstrates that happiness and success is not something we receive from the outside, but something we radiate from within. The outside world is only a reflection of our inner state. A person can strive for financial well-being, acquire material values, but true happiness does not consist in this. All these factors undoubtedly play a significant role in achieving well-being, but they cannot independently guarantee true happiness if an individual does not pay proper attention to his inner world. True success originates in the depths of self-perception, in the harmony of the inner state, and in the way one interprets the surrounding reality. The transformation of one's own perception leads to radical changes in all spheres of life, in relationships with people, in professional achievements, and in the feeling of happiness itself. This is the tremendous power of the mirror principle. It clearly demonstrates that everyone is the architect of his own reality, and that it is his inner world that determines how the outer world appears to him. You can have wealth, success, and love, but true satisfaction will only come when there is a transformation of the inner self. Begin to perceive yourself and your life as a reflection of what you want, and then reality, like a mirror, will begin to reflect this inner world full of positive